Summoners, a fictional class of character that uses magic and/or items to create beings under their control. From massive swarms of skeletal monsters to large golem-like creatures, summoners are able to use a variety of magics and items to conjure anything needed in no time at all. Personally, summoners were always one of my favorite characters to watch or play in games, movies, television, and all other types of media. For example, in World of Warcraft, playing an undead Death Knight was always a great time for me, as I could smash people's faces in with giant weapons, but also summon undead creatures to do my biddings. One of the best scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe pits my favorite hero, Doctor Strange, against Thanos, where he summons multiple copies of himself to fight against the evil Titan. Heck, even in Pokemon, you could consider Ash to be a summoner, as he captures and summons monsters to fight under his control. But why, you may ask, am I talking so much about summoners? Well, a Flesh and Blood Uprising article was recently released, showing the next two characters we are getting to the game. First was Faye, a fire ninja who reminds me a lot of Zuko from Avatar, and Dromai, an illusionist who will be able to summon dragons at whim. Though Faye got me excited for this set, the hot dragon mommy is exactly what we've been waiting for in Flesh and Blood overall. No, not to play, but to see that LSS is comfortable releasing a character that is able to summon ally unit tokens multiple times in a match. And sure, you could say that we saw allies coming, since Cold Snap was released a few days prior to this announcement, but LSS had me on the summoner train even before Everfest dropped. How? Let me explain. January 22nd, 2022. We are amidst the spoiler season. As we approach closer and closer to the release date of Everfest, cryptic tweets start releasing each day from the official Flesh and Blood Twitter at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would wake up every morning as though it was Christmas, getting small tidbits of information that would have me thinking and theorizing what it could mean all day. This morning was like many others, a cold, snowy Saturday here in the middle of New England. But, unlike most, this spoiler was something else. A card that can be used to defend your allies. This tweet stopped me in my tracks. Seeing as there was only 2 summonable allies in the game at this time, it led me to believe that we were going to see some sort of summoner. As everyone knows, Everfest is a supplementary set, meaning a new class would probably not be introduced. But this did get me thinking about a class that hasn't been openly explored yet: merchants. Now, I know what you're thinking. Merchants are used as a balancing tool for LSS to make sure generics don't get too nutty. But hear me out. I have come up with a surefire way to make the merchant feel like an actual class without breaking the game. Here's how. Make merchants summoners. When I was initially getting into Flesh and Blood, Kavdane was the first character to stand out for me. Not because of the ghoulish figure depicted in his horrifying art, or the design of his hero ability, but because one card, Cashin. Ever since I've laid eyes on this card, I've wanted it to work. A free draw 2 card in any game is powerful, but in a game like Flesh and Blood, draw is even more essential as it makes a good hand even better. This, coupled with the limited card pool of only generics, really got my gears turning. And like a magnet that only goes towards weird janky combo shenanigans, I focused my attention in Blitz on Kavdane. Let's get one thing clear. I dislike Kavdane. Unless you're in a game of Ultimate Pit Fight, his hero ability feels way less powerful compared to other heroes. His only weapon at the time of recording this is Talishar, a 2-handed sword that breaks after 3 uses. And being limited to only generic equipment means other classes would be able to do what he does easier and with more options. But for some reason, the word merchant stuck with me. Fast forward to now, we actually have a really good merchant, Genus What You Need. I love this little dude, and his ability is actually good, which allowed me to completely yeet away Kavdane into the void. And look, we got an actual piece of gear that doesn't suck, that blocks for 2 damage. But one thing is still missing from this equation. A good weapon. This is my chance to step in.
Psst. Hey kid, over here custom cards.
For those who don't know, dedicated fans of varying card games like to show their passion and support for the games to their community by creating cards for those aforementioned games. In doing so, fans and creators alike are able to get their ideas pushed into the ethers of their communities on either ways to balance a meta or just have fun with the systems currently in place. I for one love custom cards, as it lets creative parts of oneself interact with the analytical parts. And usually, getting feedback on this kind of work feels amazing, as like-minded individuals are able to chime in their 2 cents on your design and balance of these cards. In the past, I've even created a couple heroes and weapons myself, one post-Monarch, and the other for the kitchen table TCG's Everfest card creation contest. Though I had a lot of fun creating these characters, one of my favorite parts was creating lore and finding where these characters would fit in the Flesh and Blood universe. If you would be interested in a video for either of these characters, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, merchant weapons. I've went into a lot of thought on how and what a merchant would use in a fight. Initially, I was thinking basic weapons would suffice, like a gun or some sort of club, to beat back unruly customers. And sure, this could fit for some close-up and gritty merchants, but my guy Genus doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would conduct his business that way. I thought back to my previous custom weapon, the Cask Slinger, which was a crossbow that would shoot items for the cost of coins. But alas, it felt too close to something that an alchemist would use, and since that's already talked about in the lore book as being a class, I didn't want to step on any toes. Finally, I came up with a solution. Why not create a non-swingable weapon that strictly uses coins, the resource created primarily by merchants, to create tokens in the arena to do their dirty work? At first, I thought a banner or booth would be a neat item to wield, but both felt too large to be considered a weapon. That's where the idea of a contract scroll came to mind. Then, with all that info, I pushed it into my brain and output the following. Let me introduce you to the new merchant weapon, Armed Contract. So, this weapon costs 1 resource to use and has go again. At the cost of destroying 1 coin, you are able to trade it in for 1 hired ally token. Notice, these actions do not have the once per turn rule, meaning you can cash out allies until you run out of resources or coins. After seeing the weapon, you are probably asking yourself, what are these tokens? Well, let's check them out one by one. First, the Armed Peon. This ally enters the arena with 2 guard tokens. Similar to Steam tokens, these will be removed at the end of the turn after the unit attacks. And like any other hired mercenary, they leave when the job is finished, or when no counters are in play for that unit. As this will be the most common unit to be summoned, these peons come in for a whopping 1 damage and have 2 health, so they're pretty easy to destroy. The last thing to notice is his ability, which can only be used during your turn. Here, you may destroy him to gain 2 resources. Seeing as the cost of summoning him was 1 resource, and a copper was destroyed in the process, you could look at this minion as a way to cash in your copper for a single resource. Next, we have the Gilded Mercenary. This guy packs a punch as he swings 3 damage and has 4 health, making him a bit harder to remove. As you can see, this ally stays around for 3 turns rather than 2, but uses a silver token to summon rather than a copper. Unlike the last ally, this unit can be destroyed at the attack reaction step, making your next target attack gain +3. Ouch. Finally, we have the gold standard of mercenaries, the Soldier of Fortune, with a whopping 5 damage and 6 health. This unit comes into play with 4 guard counters, and his effect allows you to destroy him at the defense reaction step to absorb the next 6 damage you would take this turn. Please note, this means any damage, so those pesky rune blades better watch their backs. Currently, in the game, there is no way to create gold tokens, but if the supplementary sets say anything about merchants, we will be seeing a way to create these tokens by the next set. As I noticed silver being a bit more difficult to summon than copper, I'm guessing gold will be even harder to generate than silver. Though I feel this unit's stats may be a bit high, I feel that LSS will not make it an easy time to create gold, as cash-in only needs 1 to pay its cost. One of my favorite things about this weapon is that it's generic, meaning any class would be able to use the effects of it at the cost of their weapons. Imagine a world where we could see a brute swing hard with the help of some gilded mercenaries, or a ninja who utilizes death by 1,000 peons. The possibilities are wild. Now, in the end, someone eventually let me know that the card discussed in the tweet was supposed to be Amulet of Havencall, and the person who was in charge of the tweets misunderstood the ability of the card, since it is a defense reaction and not a triggered ability. Though mistakes may happen, and things can be misunderstood, I think there's something deeper going here. Maybe LSS dropped a hint to us on purpose. Maybe a card was supposed to be released in this set, but was removed before printing was sent out. And maybe a new version of Ira is coming in Uprising because of course that's her shown in the splash art of a card with the name Rise from the Ashes. Sorry, wrong video. Either way guys, thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, have notes on my custom cards, or have some custom cards of your own, please let me know in the comments below. If you really want to show some love, drop a like and subscribe. I've got a few more videos in the works right now that I think you might really enjoy. Again, thanks so much, and I'll see you around. Hot Dragon Mommy.